everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute, but I'm back with another monthly favorites journal with me. I thought that I would start off the video with doing a recap of all the things that I loved in February, since I did mean to do a February monthly journal with me, but I actually started work at the beginning of March and I've barely been home since, and it was just, the month just kept going and I was like, oh, we're too late. In February, I was fully obsessed with WandaVision. It's all I thought about. Then I decided to rewatch Outlander, which is one of my favorite shows that I binged in quarantine. And HBO added What I Like About You with Amanda Bynes, and my mom and I were having the best time watching it. I also started rewatching Game of Thrones, which is one of my favorite TV shows ever, and I binged 911 Lone Star, which I forgot to add, but I went back later. As for movies, I had a watch party with one of my best friends, Abby, and we watched Tolkien, which is very much Marauders vibes, if you know what I mean. And I also watched The Village, and I loved that movie so much. Judas and the Black Messiah also came out in February, starring Daniel Kaluuya, which is one of my favorite actors who is in Get Out, and that movie was so good. My reading in February wasn't as much as I wanted, but I did read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, which is now one of my favorite books. And I also started the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. It was a rough ride, but now I'm really into this series, so I will talk about that later on as well. Now we are on my March monthly favorites. This is me kind of figuring out my layering process. It usually takes me a hot second to find a layout that I actually love, and sometimes it doesn't even work out and I will still not like it in the end, but I did end up really liking how this one turned out, which you'll see in the end, obviously. These are my stickers that I have bought from small businesses, and I just love buying little die cut stickers on Etsy, so it's a problem. It's an addiction that I don't mind because I love supporting small businesses. My bank account doesn't love it though, but I do. I went with a green theme. Sage green has become one of my favorite colors next to yellow, and I wanted to do that sort of color palette. It was St. Patty's Day in March, so I guess that's why I went with green, but I'm not complaining. I love this color so much. I've also been trying to get better at layering, which I'm trying to do in this little corner right here. I don't know if it is actually cute or I just think it's cute because this is me attempting to layer, but we're just gonna go with it and say that it looks good. I didn't end up using that One Direction picture, which is just tragic. Just tragic. Let's start talking about the things that I loved in February. Nope, not February, Peyton. March. Since I was messing around with this Falcon and the Winter Soldier picture right there, let's start with that. I have been so excited for this show since they announced it at 2019 San Diego Comic-Con. Bucky Barnes has been one of my favorite characters next to Peter Parker since Captain America the Winter Soldier, maybe even since Captain America the First Avenger, and him getting his own show with Sam was one of the best things I've ever heard, and I was so excited for it. And I'm just loving it so much. Their banter, they are one of the best duos, even as actors in their interviews. They are one of the best duos. It's just so good. March also had the WandaVision finale, which is why I included the WandaVision die cut sticker, which broke my heart into a million pieces. Wanda Maximoff has also been one of my favorite characters since Age of Ultron. My top three is Spider-Man, Bucky, and Wanda. So, you know, the pain that I was going through in March was a lot. I didn't think that I could love Wanda Maximoff more than I already did, but that show changed my mind, and she is the strongest Avenger. No one can fight me on that. As for what I'm doing on the screen, I actually bought a WandaVision print on Etsy, and the artist included a thank you card and wrote something WandaVision related on the back, so I really wanted to include it. Also because it had like some green on the thank you bit, so I just thought it matched perfectly. I didn't really watch many shows just because I was gone from work so much. I ended up watching way more movies than TV shows. So let's talk about the movies that I watched as well. I was kind of in my feels, so I decided to rewatch Dead Poets Society. I watched it for the first time in December and it wrecked me on a new level. And I'm fully in love with those boys and the vibes of that movie, The Dark Academia. It's just so good. So I decided to rewatch it and it was a good decision. I just love how the movie ends after the Midsummer's Night Dream. Is that the name of the play? I just love that it ends there. I also watched the two movies that they released on HBO Max, which was Godzilla vs. Kong and Justice League The Snyder Cut. Both were amazing. I've been so excited for Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm Team Kong if you were curious. Not that it matters. I'm not a big DC gal. The first Wonder Woman movie is probably my favorite DC movie, and I was still excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League just to see his idea come to life because I didn't like the original one that they came out with, and his was so much better, so much better. 4 hours, but a good 4 hours. The Stop Asian Hate sticker that I put on there next to Wanda is actually a sticker that I designed on the iPad and I cut out in Cricut. Um, I'm still learning how to use the Cricut, but my goal is to open a sticker shop in the summer. That is my big goal. And once I'm done with work this month, actually, I hope to focus on that and actually come up with a lot of bookish and movie TV themed stickers. As for books, since this is me writing the names of the characters in the books that I was reading in March, let's move on to that part of my March favorites. As I mentioned in my February recap, I started the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie, which follows Lily and Lo and their addictions and them figuring out their love for each other. And with that series comes the spin-off of the Calloway sisters, and that series, chef's kiss, chef's kiss. The Addicted series follows Lily Calloway, and the spin-off The Calloway Sisters follows her sister Rose and Daisy, and it's just such a good found family trope. This is a romance series, but the found family in this series has been my favorite aspect of the whole romance series. Not even the romance itself. Even though the romance itself is still pretty epic, especially Connor and Rose and Daisy and Reich. So good. I highly recommend. I'm on the last book as I'm doing this voiceover. As for the journal that you just saw in the video, that is my book journal, and that's just where I do aesthetic pages on the books that I just read or books that I've loved in the past. And I brought it out because I was trying to find a quote for the Song of Achilles, and I did a whole page of the Song of Achilles, and that's just where I had all my quotes, and I just wanted to explain that bit. And speaking of the Song of Achilles, that is one of the books that I read in March, and no joke, probably one of my favorite books. I know I just said that about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but this book was one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. And the love story in this book just steals your whole entire heart. I just can't recommend this enough. It's a Greek mythology retelling. Um, I just have no words to describe how much I love this book. The last book that I read in March was actually a reread for me, and I reread Shadow and Bone in anticipation for the Shadow and Bone series that's coming out on Netflix tomorrow as I'm recording this voiceover. And I'm so excited. I can't watch it until I get home from work the following Monday, but that's what I'll be binging when I get off of the plane. I'm so excited. Six of Crows is one of my favorite books. And just to see my characters come to life is going to be hopefully amazing. I am already in love with the casting for the show, so fingers crossed that the content is actually A+. Now I'm just writing in the actual titles of the books that I read in March. Man, I can't wait to be done with the work next month and just have all the time to read. I miss reading so much. I feel like this isn't enough books when my goal was to read 100 books by the end of the year. I'm not reading enough to get to that. In the next clip, I'm going to be writing a quote from Taylor Swift. I think the song is called The Lakes. It was a bonus track in Folklore, and the lyric is "Take me to the lake where all the poets went to die." And I just wrote that next to Dead Poets Society. If you know, you know. And obviously a heart, because that romance that isn't actually a thing is probably one of my favorite things. Someone also needs to teach me how to do cursive and handwriting, because that quote looks ugly. I also went back to my WandaVision spreads to get a nice WandaVision quote, because you know, that show had too many good quotes, and this was a quote from the finale that absolutely broke my heart in half. I chose the quote that Vision said, "You are my sadness and my hope, but mostly you are my love." Then my final finishing touches on this March favorite spread is actually just going to be a quote from the pilot from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is something that James Buchanan Barnes says, and I just love him so, so much. I mean, come on now, who doesn't love him? I chose the quote, "I'm James Bucky Barnes and I'm here to make amends," just because that quote is so funny to me, because Bucky, when he was the Winter Soldier, was a killer, but Bucky himself is such a cinnamon roll, I can't take it. The tree washi tape is from the washi tape shop, and I have a link in my description if you want. They have sent me washi tape in the past, and I love their quality and design so much. I hope you loved this March journal with me. I can't wait to do April's, since April ends in literally a week. But I'm so happy to make videos again, and hopefully I'll be making more. Let me know if you loved this. Let me know what you want to see from me, and I hope you have a lovely day or night. Thank you for watching. Bye!